covering some of the latest product updates specific to the US market, I should mention, as it relates to the IUL2 products and the final expense product launched earlier this year. And if we go to the next slide, Vanessa, the reason we're going to have distribution on today from Transamerica instead of field speakers is because the main event is really tomorrow with our Never Been Better at WFG webinar, featuring none other than Rob Day, Charity Ano, Steve Holbrook, Johnny Marion, and Victor Salvador. So again, I hope you've already registered for this exciting webinar. You see the QR code there to do so if you haven't already. November 21st, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And this is such a special time in WFG right now. These leaders are really going to bring the message home on the momentum we have as a company right now, all the incredible achievements and announcements that we've ticked off during 2024 as we charge into 2025 with momentum. So very excited about this. I hope you'll be on. We expect to have well north of 5,000-6,000 agents on with us tomorrow. Make sure you've got that on your calendar if you would. As we go to the next slide, though, I do want to also mention we had an incredible webinar yesterday. This was made possible by our friends at AMS Financial Solutions Group, featuring Jeff Bush, a renowned person who speaks over 200 times a year and is considered really a foremost thought leader on the intersection, if you will, between economics and the financial services industry and politics. And of course, we just wrapped up a big election recently. And so he did a great job talking about things relevant to your business in WFG that are going to impact your clients. I would encourage you to go check out the recording that's now posted out there. You can also download the PowerPoint deck that he used and made available via QR code as part of that as well. So check that out if you haven't already. And as we go to the next slide there, Vanessa, I also want to give kudos to Michelle Berry, the president of TFA, and her entire team that pulled off really an incredible event at TFA Exchange last week. We had nearly 1,000 attendees, 359 BIL appointments that were held, 30 breakout presentations on a variety of topics, 16 tech talks. And as you see from some of the pictures here, just a phenomenal event. Our keynote speaker, Mike Rayburn, did a phenomenal job. Great event. I really enjoyed having time to meet with some of our registered representatives and our investment advisor representatives, looking to the future of TFA, right? It's clear that Michelle and her team have a very good vision of where we're going. They're investing in this side of the business. And I myself was able to film a short video on just the value of adding, TFA and becoming an investment licensed representative to your WFG business. So check that out. If you haven't, thought about becoming part of TFA, I'd encourage you to do so because we're going to continue to build on the momentum on that side of the business as well. Let's go to the next slide if we could, Vanessa. Wanted to make sure everybody's aware of probably the most exciting announcement that we've had of late, the personal activity bonus. And I know from getting a lot of calls and texts that most of you you're leveraging this in your business already. But as I said, we want to close 2024 with momentum. This empowers you to do that in a big way. A new monthly bonus. All agents are eligible at every level. The requirements to qualify you see listed here: 10,000 personal agency net points, 1 personal recruit, a rolling 3-month NPR of 75% or higher. And the bonus payout for training agents through the marketing director level, it's a 10% bonus to personal commissions with no cap. And then for SMDs and higher, a 5% bonus to personal commissions up to $1,000. And the reason we put that $1,000 cap in place is that once you hit that level of production as an SMD or higher, you're really going to start playing into some of the base shop bonus pools there. So we wanted to make sure we weren't doing any double dipping. But this is a bonus program that is truly, I believe, going to catapult us to a whole other level in WFG. It's going to result in a lot of big bonus checks going out to personal producers. And we want to have something for everybody here. And we continue to just build upon the momentum we've had in 2024 with these positive announcements. And as we go to the next slide, I also want to talk about the stock-based cash award program, funding pool of up to $5 million for this year. Qualification period, obviously retroactive to January 1, runs through December 31st. If you're trying to reach one of these levels and lock in your stock-based cash award, the fastest way to do that, I believe, is to go out and increase your cash flow through life sales, right? And so that's one of the reasons we wanted to have Brittany join us today from Transamerica. But you see here, it's MDs at 50,000 rolling 12 cash, SMDs at 100,000, EMDs at $250,000, CEO MDs at $500,000, and EBCs at $1 million above. To see the corresponding payout amounts there, you can go out, check out the brochure, the frequently asked questions document, and the webinar replay that's posted out on the training center of MyWFG. And also, next slide, please. We've got leaders boards that are available now at all levels so that you can see If you're on track, who on your team's on track, or who maybe is on the bubble and hasn't met some of the qualifications. These leaderboards are being updated twice a week, thanks to Andrew Schott and his team, as well as Warren Yancey in marketing and his folks. So appreciate all the work they're doing. You can view these under My WFG under menu, events and recognition, bonus pool, stock-based cash award program. And again, we just keep making exciting announcements like this to build on our momentum, to invest in you and your business as you grow and thrive here at WFG. Next slide, please. We also rolled out the spousal beneficiary designation form earlier this year. So if you're an SMD and above and you have not yet taken advantage of this, completed the form and gotten it submitted, I encourage you to go out to My WFG today and do so. Another powerful example of how we're investing you and your business and making sure that WFG is truly a flagship destination in this industry, right? Next slide, please. And then, of course, only 11 days left for Hawaii as we close out the month of November. Final weeks to qualify here. Wave 1, February 24th to March 1st. Wave 2, March 1 through 6th, the Hilton Waikoloa Village. And then the elite phase, March 6th through 9th. I know there's going to be a lot of movement and a flurry of activity as we close out November strong. So make sure you're checking those leaderboards and competing all the way through to the finish line. There's always going to be some unlucky person who ends up right below that cutoff, right? Don't let it be you. Make sure you leave no doubt and you leave yourself some cushion there as we close out with 11 more days in the month of November. Next slide, please. We got our next Power Hour coming up on Wednesday, December 4th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Please mark your calendar for that. Of course, hosted as always by the incredible Wes Green, leading the distribution team with important announcements. We're going to continue to do not only WFG Live, WFG Update, but also this Power Hour to make sure we have multiple opportunities for all of you in the field to be plugged into home office and aware of all the key announcements. Next slide, please. And the EVC meeting, January 7th and 8th at the M Resort and Spa. If you're an EVC or above, we hope to have you there. Spouses are, of course, welcome too. We had an email go out yesterday with more details on this. The registration process. We want to get everybody locked in, get your travel booked for that. We look forward to having you there. And we're also going to be doing a WFG Live on location on the 6th, which we'll talk about towards the end here. Make sure you have your calendar marked for that. But very excited for all the big announcements we're working on right now for the EVC meeting. Next slide. I want to recognize some of our top leaders for Fonseca memberships, right? We've got Andy Nguyen at number 10 with 7 members, Rob Day, David Jian, Dan Charlier, Hai Hong Sun. And then in our top 5, we have Victor Salvador, Penny Oy, Shuli Zong, Rocky Shi, and Alicia Nguyen. So congratulations to all these WFG agents leading the way in terms of driving our Fonseca memberships. We recently surpassed 300 memberships with Fonseca. I know we're going to charge all the way to 1,000 by May of next year. And as we go to the next slide, it looks like Alicia is leading the charge to be the WFG leader representing our brand and our company at the Leaders and Managers Program 2025. But I want to have a lot of WFG Fonseca members attending this conference as well. It's going to be a great meeting. If you haven't registered, I encourage you to do so. You can click that QR code and use the WFG code alt to become a member of Fonseca and save $100. And also to save $100 on your registration for the Leaders and Managers Program in Orlando, Florida, March 22nd through the 25th. Registration is now open. I hope to see you there. I know Todd Buchanan, our president and board member of Fonseca, will also be there. We have quite a few leaders who have already signed up to attend. So this is going to be a great meeting. Next slide, please. With that, I want to turn it over to my colleague and a woman who really needs no introduction, the incredible head of field relations, Susan Davies. Been around here for more than 35 years, gives tirelessly of herself to WFG. And most importantly, the reason I love Susan is because every time a field leader contacts me with a problem they need help solving, and I don't know how to solve it most of the time because I've only been here 11 months, the first person I call is Susan Davies, and she never hesitates to help me out. So Susan, I always appreciate you being on this morning. I'll turn it over to you for some recognition.
Thank you. I am excited to be here, and recognition is always my favorite thing. And thank you very much to Vanessa for always helping us with this. So this is year to date. This is through October. So 10 months, this is what has happened. As you can see, 844 50K watches, which is amazing. That's the first step for recognition on cash flow. 400 at 100K, 126 at $250,000, 40 at $500,000, 19 at 750,000, 17 new $1 million earners. year to date in 2024. 9 new $1.5 million earners, 5 new $2 million earners, 3 new $2 million earner, or $3 million earners, sorry, and then 3 at 5 million. And we also have 1 new $6 million earner, which we missed, but you will see on the slide. Next, please, Vanessa. So these are the new ring earners at 250,000. This is in the month of October, so the recognition happens in November. So you can see these guys: Adewale, Abdel, Leon, Joe, Joshua, Ram, Thu, Michael, Joanne, Julian. And then at 500,000, new $500,000 earners in the month of October only: Shane Hibbs, Hamid Ibrahim, Richard Q, Aaron Tabor. At 750,000, David Cottrell and Wee Lou. New $1 million earner, Francis Kimbang. He is amazing. He was our #1 in an SMD Academy way back in like 2 years ago, and now he's a $1 million earner. So congratulations, Francis. New $1.5 million earner, Landon Ford in Canada. New $2 million earner, you saw him on the Fonseca slide, Shuli Zong. New $6 million earner. He earned this earlier in the year, but we did not recognize him. So Andy Nguyen, we want to give him a shout out. Thank you. Now promotions. 823 new SMDs so far through October. 100 new EMDs, 41 new CEO MDs, 13 new EBCs, and 14 new SEVCs. For the month of October, Pauline Akal, Nastran Fazi, Gurpreet Judy, Oscar Salgado, Yan Bo Wang for EMD. Also for CEO MD, Jeremy Fagnan and Heng Dong Guo. And now I'll hand it back to you, Drew.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. And I agree with you. There's nothing more exciting than recognizing leaders in WFG that are achieving success and taking a moment to really thank them for all they do to help us fulfill our mission as a company, serving their clients and growing their business at the same time. And speaking of growing your business, there's no better way to do it than by aligning yourself, becoming more informed on the exciting product announcements that have happened this year at Transamerica. I know there's heavy investments on the Transamerica side specific to the WFG relationship. Our partnership with them has never been stronger. I was just talking to Wendy Boyd this morning about exciting things coming in the future. But we're excited today to have Brittany Gallant, virtual regional wholesaler from Transamerica, on with us to really take the remainder of the hour and walk you through a lot of the great things happening at Transamerica now that can be an asset to you as you build your business and protect your clients. So Brittany, I will turn it over to you here.
Thank you so much, Drew. And I'm trying to turn on my camera here if the host will just allow me to do that here. All right, well, I'll go ahead and get started until I can do that. All right, there we go. Good afternoon, WFG. Thank you so much, Drew, for that introductory here. Again, my name is Brittany Gallant. I'm one of the hybrid wholesalers here at Transamerica, and I'm so excited to be in front of you all today to go over those new product enhancements and product launches that we have launched in the past couple months here. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here, and we're going to dive into some of those new products here. So let me start sharing it here. All right, so more to love with the next generations in our IULs, right? Back on Saturday, October 12th, we launched our enhanced FFIUL and our financial choice IUL2 products. Now, I want to tell you what the intent behind these product updates are. The intent behind these was to make them each stronger from what they already presently designed to do today. So we took the original IULs and we just made them stronger. And I'm excited to go over what those new enhancements are this afternoon. But let's take it back a little bit. Let's go back to some history here at Transamerica. Back in 1997, Transamerica was the first carrier to offer an indexed universal life policy. So back in 1997, we were the first carrier to come out with the indexed universal life. Now, over the years, we continue to evolve our IUL, And the most recent one that came out before the next generations was our Transamerica Financial Choice IUL. This came out back in January of 2023. And a product that most of you are probably more familiar with is our Transamerica Financial Foundation IUL, also known as the FFIUL. And before we launched our new IUL products, the FFIUL had been the #1 selling product in the industry for IULs for the past 3 consecutive years. And we're going to continue to drive that rate, right? Making it the #1 selling product with the new generations with the help of each and every one of you. Now let's go over our IUL positioning statement, right? We have a mix of index accounts to help meet the needs of diverse clients, right? We work with different clients, right, across the country and the world. So we want to make sure we have a good lineup of index accounts that meets those clients' needs. Right, looking at it, we have competitive cap rates that provide upside growth potential. And later on, I'm excited to go over some of those new enhanced cap rates on our index accounts. And then also that growth with the upside growth potential, then also that the downside protection, okay? And later on, when we look at our lineup of index accounts, we're going to talk about what it means by that protection on the downside of things, okay? And then a large variety of optional riders, right? We have that long-term care rider. We still have that now on the next generation, and it remains the same and unchanged, right? The long-term care rider here at Transamerica is very strong and a great benefit, and it is Long-Term Care Awareness Month, so we're definitely honing into that especially. And then we have the concierge planning rider, right? We have Powered with Everest, and we have that concierge planning funeral rider that really allows the family members, right, to have a heavy load lifted off of them when they're going through that stage in life where they lose a loved one. Don't worry, we're going to dive into the Everest rider just here in a little bit. A streamlined underwriting experience, right? Recently, we've launched the new iGo experience. And with the new launch, what we're looking to do is reduce the number of touches that you have to go back and forth with your client. With this new experience, yes, you will notice we are asking, a lot of questions up front. But again, we're looking to reduce the number of times you have to go back and forth with your client. We really just want you to submit the app and that be it until you obviously have to go through and meet with your client. Now, this is where we're going to get into the FFIUL2 and go over some of the enhancements. Okay, and we're really going to hone into the FFIUL2 and then go into another product launch here. But let's talk about the target client we look at. Okay, we have the middle market clients that fit this solution. Juveniles, right? As soon as they're 15 days old and get that social security card, right? We can go ahead and get coverage for those juveniles. Emerging affluent clients and individuals, right? So the affluent individuals, those are folks that have already max funded, let's just say all their qualified plans, and they're looking for another investment vehicle. Okay, and then we have foreign nationals, right? Here at Transamerica, we can even offer coverage internationally to clients. All right, here's the exciting news. Let's dive into those new enhancements here. New index accounts, increased cap rates, increased target premiums. We have improved our income solves. We have new monthly sweep dates and DCA rules, dollar cost averaging, which we'll take a deep dive into this later, and we'll go over some changes to our benefits and riders. Don't worry, we're going to dive into each one of these sections, starting off with, and this is something that we're really, really excited here at Transamerica. We have our new Balance Uncapped Index account. It is a blended index here, so the client will get 34% in the S&P. They will get 33% in that Fidelity Spin Multi-Factor Index account and 33% in that Nikkei 225. The Nikkei 225 is something new we have a part of our index accounts here at Transamerica. So what you're getting here is a totally uncapped account with a participation rate in excess of 100%. The participation rate on our Balanced Uncapped account is 113%. So this is huge, right? It's going to give even that potential for the client to get more return. Okay, don't worry. Later on, we're going to talk about what it means for that power behind the participation rate. But let's talk about that Nikkei stock average, right? That Nikkei, 225. This is a stock index of Japan's top 225 companies traded on the Tokyo Stock Exchange with over 70 years of history. Now, some of the well-known companies part of the index account that you probably are familiar with, right? Toyota, Honda, Subaru, Sony, and Fujitsu. And that Nikkei offers historical lower volatility while still retaining access to Asian markets. Okay, so we're really excited about this new indice that's a part of our account here. Now, here's a closer look at that Fidelity Small Mid Multi-Factor Index account. So what this is exposure across small and mid-cap securities, okay? And we did have this index account available on the Financial Choice IUL, so no big changes here when we look at this. Let's take a deeper dive into our global index account. Okay, so most of it has remained the same. I'm going to call out something new here. So the client gets still 50% of the S&P or Euro stock, whichever is higher. Then they get 30% of the Euro stock, whichever is lower. And then something that is new with the global index account is we have replaced that Hang Seng with that Nikkei 225. So something we're really excited about here. All right, our FFIUL2 cap rate updates with the global S&P, the global index account and our S&P 500, we have increased the cap rates by 0.25%. Okay, so this is huge. We're giving that client even a more opportunity to get even more return. Okay, and with those updated cap rates, we do also have a new illustrated rate. Prior to the enhancements, you could illustrate it at 7%. Now you can illustrate it at 7.25 for your global and your S&P. All right, let's look at our account lineups here. Okay, so here's the index account lineup in full great detail for our FFIUL2. Okay, so let me go ahead and break it down here, right? Keep in mind, prior to the launch, we had our global and our S&P. Now we have added 2 new index accounts. Let's go ahead and look at that balance and cap a little bit more in detail, right? If we look at it here, we have that 113 participation rate. This is uncapped. This is huge. It's uncapped. So what does that mean, right? Depending on how those 3 indices within the balance and cap perform, that will drive the rate up. Okay, so it's uncapped there. Now, when we look at that floor, that is that guaranteed minimum interest rate that we talk about on our index accounts. So it's available. It's on all of our index accounts. It's 0.75%. Most of you have probably heard of a floor, but just in case, right? If one of the index accounts goes negative 1 year, we're going to still credit that client's account 0.75%. The index account monthly charge, right, that has remained the same from the old IUL to the new one, so 0.72% annual. You will notice at the bottom that new basic S&P, no index account monthly charge, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. We hit on those max illustrated rates, right? For the top 3 accounts, you can illustrate those at 7.25%. But something I really like to hone into, especially on this, is the 20-year historical gross return. Take a look at that balance uncapped account, 10.46%. That is huge, right? Again, that shows even a better opportunity for those clients to see return, which means more cash value for them in their policy. Our global and S&P still coming in good, right? 8.28% and 8.31%. Okay, and then we have our new basic S&P account. And what this is, it's the S&P with no index account monthly charge. We heard from the field, you all, that and some feedback that we heard was not being able to illustrate the value of what the index account monthly change is getting you. So really, this is showing you when you remove that charge, what is the impact to the cap rate. So I'm excited about these new index accounts, which are really going to help us be able to make this even more competitive out there in the industry. Now let's talk about the power behind participation, okay? So how this works, right? Keep in mind that balanced and capped account has 113 participation rate. A lot of index accounts have 100 participation rate. So again, that balance and cap is a potential opportunity for that client to get more return. let me break down it how it works here. So let's just say that index account did 10% in that year, the client would get 113% of that. So it would come back to 11.3% that they're actually getting credited to their account. Okay, and that's in a positive year. So again, they would get that in a positive year. So if we look at it, and again, if the client has the index has a negative return in that year, that's where that client still gets that 0.75% guaranteed floor. But hopefully this is exciting you about that power of participation, right? This is huge here. All right, let's talk about those increased target premiums. This is beneficial to both you and the client, right? Those increased target premiums, that is where your commission is driven off of, okay? So we have improved to be competitive out there in the market. We have increased our adult males target premium by 11%, and females went up by 6%. Now, no changes to our juvenile sales here, okay? So this is a great opportunity for us to be competitive. We improved our income solves. You now have the ability to illustrate monthly income solves. Before, you could only do annual, so you're able to illustrate both. Now, behind the scenes, what we did is we revised the death benefit factors to adjust corridor factor after age 100. Well, what does that mean for you? This gives you the capability to show an even more attractive income stream to your client. And the cost of insurance charges have been eliminated after age 95 when that client's death benefit is in corridor. Okay, so that is huge. That will give you a nice little boost when you're doing those income solves. All right, moving right along here, new monthly sweep dates is something we were already using on the original FCIUL. So it'll work exactly the same both for the FFIUL and the FCIUL2. And for those of you that may be hearing sweep date for the first time, just keep in mind this is industry standard, right? For us to be compliant, we got to follow this sweep date. But let me go ahead and explain how that sweep date works, okay? So premium is applied to the policy, okay? And once it's applied to the policy, it sits in what's called that sweep holding account, okay? And then money is not actually swept into the actual index account until the 15th of every month. Okay. Now, some questions I get while that money is sitting in that hold account, does the client get any type of interest from that, right? They do get credited 3.5% while it's sitting in that holding account. And then keep in mind on the 15th of every month, that's where it starts to work in the index account. All right, and dollar cost averaging DCA, prior to the launch, the client had to have $5,000 deposit into the basic interest account to be able to use dollar cost averaging. We now have reduced it down to $2,000, so that is huge. Let's look at some of those riders and benefits, right? We talked about it earlier. The LTC rider remains competitive and unchanged. Okay, but something that we added, which I really love, is the cost of care. This has been added to the TA Life Illustrator. So when you're running that illustration and you're really honing into long-term care, what it does is it breaks down the cost annually, how much the client potentially would have to pay for those long-term care expenses. So by having that cost of care calculator, it'll determine that when we're running that illustration, do we have enough adequate coverage for that client in their future for their long-term care expenses? With our living benefits, our critical and chronic living benefits, so for our preferred risk classes, previously you could only add them up to age 70. Now you can add them up to age 75. And the concierge planning rider, right? This is something we're excited about. It's been all along part of the original FFIUL. So we have it on the next generation, but we have new states available. So for my friends selling in Georgia, Kansas, Minnesota, Montana, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Washington, and Maryland, you can now have that concierge planning rider on the policy. And we're going to go into greater detail on how that works. Just to talk through it just briefly, right? The client would have to have $250,000 in coverage or more, right? And they would be able to have that concierge planning rider at no additional cost. Okay, and we're going to talk about what that Everest rider provides for the client. Now let's look at some policy charges and fees. A lot has remained unchanged when it comes to policy charges and fees. So your premium expense charge still remains the same at 4% in all years, right? We talked about the cost of insurance and how it hits the corridors, how certain charges will be eliminated. Your PUC charge, your per unit duration charge is still 16 years. Your monthly policy fee is still $10 a month, right? $120 a year. And your index account monthly charge is 0.72% annual. And your surrender charge is still remains at 15 years. So that is the FFIUL2 and all it has to offer. Okay, so excited about those new enhancements. But now I'm going to pivot into our another solution that we recently launched in the past couple months. So let's go ahead and dive into this one here. So we have our new Transamerica FE Express. Okay, and let me start sharing again. Okay, there we go. So with the new FE Express here, right, this launched back in September. Okay, so it's new, but let's go into some of those details here. Okay, when we looked at it, right, 60% of surveyed Americans. Oh, let me stop sharing here. I don't think it pivoted to the next screen. Just bear with me here one moment. All right, let me try to do this again. All right, gotta love technology sometimes. Just bear with me here. All right, let me go ahead and reshare. Okay, so again, back in September, we launched that new FE Express solution. Okay, and let's look at the overall market need here, right? 60% of surveyed Americans believe the top reasons to own life insurance are to cover burial costs and other final expenses. So when we look at it, it is a large and great opportunity for us to get out there and have that conversation. So when we look at it here, right, final expense, that big opportunity, right, back in 2023, the market was valued at over $148 billion. But to add to that, the projected growth rate by 2030, we're looking at over $257 billion. That's a huge opportunity ahead of us. Now, the drivers of this massive market are varied and wide, right? Looking at affordability, growing funeral costs, simplified underwriting, and flexible payment options. Now, let's face it, right? Final expense can well be expensive, right? And most people don't want to leave a large bill as their legacy to loved ones, right? They want to leave something more important and beneficial to their loved ones, okay? So when we look at the range of costs for, funeral costs and final expenses here, right? On the lower range, you're looking at $13,000 all the way up to $32,000 here. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our new solution here. So introducing the new Transamerica FE Express solution that was designed to be a game changer for you and your clients. What you're going to get is a fully integrated digital experience. 100% instant decision. And what's really great is we have electronic policy delivery as in fast as 10 minutes. You can get a client protected and a policy in their hand within 10 minutes. That is huge, right? And what you'll also like is the competitive edge of an optional one-of-a-kind concierge planning rider. So we talked about it on the FFIUL2. It is also available in our final expense product. Now, when we look at the final expense, right, this is a permanent whole life policy. So the client would pay level premiums throughout their life, right? They can get up to $50,000 in protection. And we also do have high issued ages where it can go all the way up to age 85. Right? We hit on it earlier, that instant decision, right? Again, digital platform, getting that client protected within 10 minutes. That's huge. And the funeral planning service at no additional premium cost. So it is built into the solution. Okay. And we're going to talk about some of those benefits that the client can see with that Everest rider. Let's go into some competitive features here, right? I won't say it again, but we have that quick process time, right, to get that client protected quickly. Let's talk about the different ways the client can pay. They can pay with their credit card. They can pay with their debit card. They can also leverage if they are on Social Security and they get their funds deposited into their Direct Express MasterCard. They can always use that to pay as well. Okay. Clients can also use their checking and savings account that is available. Opportunity to upsell, right? And I'll show you later what this looks like when I walk us through the digital experience, but this gives you an opportunity to upsell to the client. And again, we'll take a glimpse into that a little bit later. This is huge too, faster commissions, right? Right, you're putting in all your hard work, right? Working tirelessly, making those appointments, going to trainings, right? So we want to make sure you're getting paid quickly for all the hard work you're doing. Okay, so we have competitive commissions that are scheduled to paid out on a daily basis. Okay, so once that policy gets issued, you should see your commission hit pretty quickly there. So that's huge. This is a product which is a quick and easy sale. Okay. And again, we have that funeral plaintiff's benefit at no additional premium cost. Now, let's compare the Transamerica FE Express solution and the Transamerica graded FE Express solution. Okay, so depending on the client's medical history, right, they could be approved for one product versus the other. The good thing is you would just select the FE Express, and then that automatic underwriting decision will tell you what the client gets approved at. But let's look a little bit of a side-by-side comparison. Okay, so yes, they're both non-participating whole lives, right? And we'll talk about how the graded death benefit does pay out differently than the, let's call it select FE Express solution. Now, when we look at premium payments, right, for that FE Express solution, the select product, that goes to age 100. So they would pay the level premium to age 100 or till they pass away. When we look at the graded, they do have to pay to age 121 or till they pass away there. Now, when it comes to risk classes on this final expense, there's only two. They're either going to get non-tobacco or tobacco. So pretty simple there. When we look at issue ages, right, it does start at age 18. So juveniles can't have a final expense, right? They do have to go into a product like our FFIUL2. And then you'll notice we go all the way up to age 85 on that select FE Express solution. And then for the graded, we're only able to issue that up to age 80. And we will look at the face amount. How much can we cover our clients, right? So minimum coverage for both is $5,000. And then if we look at the FE Express, right, up to age 75, they can get $50,000, and then up to age 85, they can get $25,000. Now, when we look at the graded, right, the most they can get in coverage is $25,000 there. All right, this is where I want to hone into that death benefit payout because it does work differently on the graded. Okay, so when we look at the FE Express solution, it's a guaranteed death benefit. Now, when we look at the graded, this is how it works. If the insured passes away within the first 2 policy years and the insured's death is not accidental, as defined in the policy, the death benefit will be limited to 110% of the premiums received. Okay, so if they pass away within the first 2 years and it's not in the result of an accident, they are limited to a payout of 110% of their premiums. But after they pass those 2 years, right, then they would be guaranteed to get that full death benefit payout. They're just limited in those 2 years. Okay. Now, available riders, right? We have the accelerated death benefit rider with nursing home benefit and the accelerated death benefit rider available on that select FE Express solution. You'll notice on the graded side, we don't have those riders available, but the great thing is you do have the concierge planning rider available for both. Okay. Now let's talk about some best practices when going through that application and sale process here, right? The billing zip code on the card or bank account must match the mailing or physical address in the application, okay? So you want to make sure when you're inputting, you know, whether that be the debit card, credit card, bank account, you want to make sure that the billing zip code matches the same on that physical mailing address. Now, the owner, insured, and payer, they must be the same person at the time of issue. Okay, so they have to be the same person at time of issue, but once the policy is issued in the customer portal, they're able to change, you know, the payer and potentially that owner. Okay, third-party payer is not allowed for the initial payment. And let's just say you're going in, you're trying to, you know, enter the debit or credit card multiple times and it keeps on failing, right? Don't try to attempt to use it and over because that can mess with the process. So, and I'll show you where you can call numbers if you ever have any issues and get stuck. Now, the draft date cannot be changed if the initial premium is future dated, okay? Premium cards are not acceptable. After the client purchased the policy, what you'll want to do is you're just going to remind your client to sign into the customer portal, Okay, it is different for this solution compared to the other solutions we have here at Transamerica. Don't worry, just here in a little bit, we're going to go through the electronic process here. Now let's talk about those riders, right? And now we're going to go into that Everest Concierge Planning Rider. So again, no additional premium cost to your clients, okay? And what they're able to access here, right? Everest advisors are licensed funeral directors, and they are available 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And what they're able to do and what they're there to do is assist families with funeral-related needs, right? During that time when that family has lost a loved one, right? The last thing they're going to want to think about is having to go through that funeral planning and, put everything in place. So with Everest, they take that load off that family so they can really go through those emotions. Okay. But some other things that are also available is they have tools to create, a will and other personalized legal documents. And then with those documents, they're able to actually store them with the Tenzing functionality. And then we have Price Finder, right? When you contact Everest or at time of need, right? That's where they have those advisors that are able to go through and get funeral home prices for the individuals and specific to that area that they live in. Now let's break down real quick how it works, right? First and foremost, that the client is going to sign the consent to share information with Everest. Okay, and then after that policy gets issued, Everest is going to send a welcome package out to them. Okay, they'll be able to see what the benefits are and who they can contact and how they can log into the portal. Then they're able to log into Everest, right, to explore what tools they have available, complete those legal documentations, and put their wishes in writing. Okay, and then from there, they're always able to log in to make updates to any of those documents as needed. Now, at time of death, okay, at time of death, what they're able to do is the family will call Everest to discuss their wishes, and Transamerica steps in and we do that expedited claims process. Okay. After that, Everest and the family will finalize the arrangements with the funeral home, and then from there, Everest senior advisor will always stay in contact with that family to make sure everything is completed and in good order. Okay, so again, this takes off that heavy load from the family. Now, let's talk about who is Everest. A lot of you probably already work with Everest today and know who they are, but just in case, right, Everest is a funeral planning and concierge service rolled into a life insurance plan. Now, Everest has combined on-demand personalized service, technology, and consumer advocacy to revolutionize traditional funeral planning. Now, in 2001, Everest, the first company of its kind, set out to simplify and streamline the funeral planning process by offering comprehensive end-of-life planning services. And the great thing, it's available any time of the day or night, and also in any language and anywhere around the world. Right? We work with diverse clients, right? And even around the world. So again, they are there to help each and every one of those families. Now, just to hit on some advantages and benefits, right? Every phone call to Everest is answered by an advisor 24/7. Over 80% of Everest calls are answered within 20 seconds. Calls at or near the time of death are immediately escalated to a senior advisor who is a licensed funeral director. Everest also has the translators that can, again, help plan services anywhere across the world. And Everest is always available and ready to help clients and agents. Now, one of the biggest benefits, I think, with that Everest rider, right, is the expedited claims payout. So Transamerica, if they have this Everest rider, we will send an expedited claims payout to the family up to $25,000 within 72 hours. That is huge. We know it can take some time to pay out a death benefit, right? We have to gather all the requirements, right? Make sure it's in good order. So it can be a little bit timely. So again, how can we get that client some cash in their hands, that family, so they can start planning that funeral? They get that expedited claims check. So that's huge. Let's look at some state availability here, right? So when we look at the Everest rider, it's not available in Alaska, Michigan, Oregon, and Virginia. and then the FE Express or the Graded Express solution. And I'm excited to announce that it is available as of yesterday in Pennsylvania. And I know California has been waiting for it too. So it's now available in those states. So the only states it's not available right now is New York and then Puerto Rico and Guam. So for my friends in California and Pennsylvania, I'm excited you can start to go ahead and leverage that final expense product. Now, here are a few additional riders that may appeal to your client. Let's start with the 2 accelerated death benefit riders available with that Transamerica FE Express solution. We have the standard accelerated death benefit rider and also the accelerated death benefit rider with nursing home benefit. Okay, now the accelerated death benefit rider provides an accelerated death benefit that is paid instead of the death benefit on your client's policy. Now, this can be used to pay for medical or nursing home expenses resulting from an injury or illness confirmed by a physician. So a doctor would have to confirm that. Now, the nursing home benefit operates similarly, but with an added benefit. This rider pays the face amount, less any loans and interest out to the client if they were diagnosed of a qualifying event or confinement in a qualified nursing home facility there. Now let's look at a hypothetical case scenario, okay? We had a client age 65, congestive heart failure, Parkinson's disease, depression, and Crohn's disease, right? They got approved for this FE Express here at Transamerica. Since it is a simplified solution, right, you are able to get a client potentially approved for this product. If you look at those fully underwritten products like the FFIUL term, if they get declined there, you might be able to pivot the client into this FE Express solution. Now, we're going to go over some great things in the digital experience. I'm going to show you how you can leverage the pre-qualifications within this app. Okay, so let's go through the digital experience here. Now, to get started with the new selling experience, you do have to log into Agent Home to be able to access it. You can log into Agent Home at secure.transamerica.com. Now, one thing I want to call out, if you haven't registered for Agent Home, get out there and register today because you have to actually go to Agent Home to leverage that final expense solution. So you're able to create an account if you haven't registered before. Now, one thing I always want to call out here is you'll notice it does ask for an advisor number when you go to register at Agent Home. That is your WFG agent code. Okay, but get out there and go to secure.transamerica.com and register today. Now, what you'll be able to access once you log into Agent Home, it'll say welcome and then your agent name. And this is the one-stop shop for all your Transamerica needs. Okay, you'll see all the different tiles here where you can access all your Transamerica business. You'll notice that new tile here, right? The Transamerica FE Express solution. Once you click launch on that, it's going to automatically sign you into your dashboard. And what your dashboard will provide is a convenient snapshot of your current application, also with color-coded status, so you can efficiently manage your business, okay? Now, looking into a little bit deeper, before clients apply, right, you can quote coverage by premium or death benefit to fit the needs of that client's budget. Okay, so you're able simply, you put in the product, the gender, the date of birth, the state, smoker or non-smoker. You can either solve for the premium or solve for the death benefit, and you're able to get that quote. Now, from that quote, you can click Start Application. Okay, and we'll go into the application just here in a second. What I really love about this new experience with the final expense is you can, if you're not sure whether your client will get covered or not, right? No problem. The simple pre-qualification tool can save you time, right? If you click on that pre-qual, it's going to ask you, put in your client's height and weight, and then they do have some potential conditions you would want to check if they have them, and then it'll say if your client pre-qualifies for the product. That is huge. I love this new benefit. Now, next you'll go through a question to see how your client is interacting, or how you, are interacting with your client. So you can do either in person if you're meeting with the client in person, or right, you sign that virtual selling agreement with WFG. So you can also do them by phone or virtual. Now, the streamlined digital application is designed to deliver coverage, and again, as fast as 10 minutes. What it will also do is it'll automatically save your progress and input so you and your client can return to complete it later, if necessary. Now, the digital experience is designed for however you sell, in person or virtually. So for remote applicants, your clients will be notified electronically via email to review and sign those HIPAA authorizations and other consents before the real-time underwriting process. So as you can see, it gives you a little glimpse of what that client could potentially see right on their phone. So from there, you're able to go ahead and access that. Okay. And it, like you said here, or like you can see here, right, it says, Richard, you have been, please review and sign your application, and it'll tell them what documents, authorizations, your Everest rider that they need to consent to share information on. All right, and then we have, here's another great feature. You can add another writing agent for commission sharing. You can add up to another one split agent. And then once the real-time underwriting is completed, you'll be notified whether your client is approved. Now, something I want to highlight here, this is your opportunity to upsell. Potentially, right? It's going to show you quoted it at 25,000, and if eligible, it come back and say that, the client got approved up to 50,000. That gives you an opportunity to upsell. Maybe they need more coverage. And then after right, obtaining coverage for the client, they can access their digital policy and review policyholder notifications, including Everest registration in their portal. And we have some great resources. You can go ahead and scan it here on the page. And keep in mind, we do also have a wholesaler, territory map, right? You have your RVPs in each one of those territories that support you. And then also you have your hybrid wholesalers and even sales partners here at Transamerica. So we have a 3-person team, right? So we love it here. Please feel free to lean into your hybrid wholesaler, right? You have each one in your territory that does the training on all the solutions and new software enhancements. Now, if you ever have any questions when it comes down to contacting around the new final expense, right? If you have technical issues, how to, submit the policy, you can contact 800-453-1448. And then if you have any questions on, the product specifics pre-issue, you can always contact our sales desk here at Transamerica. Their number is 800-322-3796, option 6. Thank you so much for allowing me the time this morning to go through the new enhancements. I greatly appreciate it.
Sorry, guys, I was talking on mute there, wasn't I? Thank you so much, Brittany. We appreciate you. And folks, there's never been a greater need for what we do protecting families, right? We've never been had better or more competitive products than we do today with the final expense and IUL2 products that Brittany just went over. Transamerica is standing by ready to process your business, help you protect your clients. Now is the time for you to take massive action and make sure that you finish out 2024 strong so that you're positioned to do big things in 2025. It's not how you start, it's how you finish that truly matters. We have just 11 days left to qualify for Hawaii. We are 42 days away from 2025. How are you going to finish this year, right? There's so much on the line for you to be competing for. We have the personal activity bonus that provides a path to a 10% bonus on personal agency points with no cap up to the MD level. For the first time ever, of course, the stock-based cash awards on the line as we close out the year. Make a list of names, come up with your action plan, stay plugged in, join us for tomorrow's Never Been Better WFG Field Leadership webinar. Let's close 2024 strong, continue to build upon our momentum together here at WFG. I thank you for joining us today. I'm proud to be your head of field engagement, so proud to be your teammate here at this great company. Let's go win big and leave it all on the field in the fourth quarter. Take care.